3 left. Myers has it. He blows right by. Gets to the three-point line. Gives it off to Miguel Arnold. Rises and fires. Miguel!
Welcome to the Dip Mitras Show. As you can see with Coach Mitras' shirt, we have an extra special guest, the maker of the biggest shot in Augusta University basketball history, at least in my opinion, Miguel Arnold. Before we get to you, Coach, I want to go straight to Miguel. Miguel, I know you've seen that shot. You made the shot. You've seen it a million times, I'm sure, from different angles. Have you ever heard Charles McNeil's call on the shot on the webcast before you listen to the show?
Yeah, I have. My parents love it as well, but yeah, I have many times.
Yeah. Well, you said in the preseason that somebody asked you if you think about the shot. You say, yeah, I think about it just about every day. But now we're into a new season, and you've been playing some great basketball. Last time I spoke to you, it was after, I want to say, the Columbus State win, and you said something like, I haven't been shooting well, and I told you, I can't even imagine a time when Miguel Arnold doesn't shoot the ball well. And these last 3 games, you've been shooting it exceptionally well. 24 for 42 from the field, 44% from 3, 13 of 17 from 2, and you don't shoot easy twos. How you feeling out there scoring the basketball?
I feel pretty good. I spend a lot of time in the gym like I have every year I've been here. So I'm just happy that everything is working out and I'm being able to make a shot.
Yeah. Well, Coach, he talks about spending a lot of time in the gym. You've talked about that a lot. Where does he rank as far as gym rats in your tenure?
Oh, he's up there. He does spend time. Either last year or the year before, I said text Keyshawn because he was spending too much time in the gym, and Keyshawn gave him some advice on just get in there and get your work done and get out. I kind of did a chat thing. I looked at the stats. His freshman year, 87% of his shot attempts were three-point attempts, and now he's 50% of his shots are threes. That means you spend time in the gym. You cannot be a one-trick pony, and all you do is shoot if you're going to be like one of the better players. And he went from being a guy that was strictly a catch-and-shoot guy, probably the first year and a half, to a guy that, like you said, 13 for 17, getting finishes around the rim, and really expanded the game because he spent time working on things that he needs to get better at and things we need him to do.
You talked about as far back as right after the national championship game last March, we came up short by just a hair in the national championship game. And 3 days later, we did an interview in one of these studios from Get Up Productions, and you talked about Miguel wanting him to look to score more off the dribble in transition, but he's really taken that and added a lot.
He has. We want him to be with the ball in his hands a little bit more. We have Tyree, who's a great point guard. It's natural for him to defer to him. But no, he's been aggressive in the half court more. He's playing like a guy that's a first-team all-league player, and he's been an integral part of our success. People always feel like you got to make a three. You got to make a basket sometimes during a game. It's just about making a basket whenever you possibly can. And he's able to make a couple shots. You're like, wow, I didn't know he had that in his arsenal. So, like I said, it's all hard work, and he's had a really good year.
Miguel's the 3rd leading scorer in the Peach Belt Conference. I think it's 17 a game right now. The leading scorer is his teammate Tyshawn Crawford. He was a guest on the last episode, and I want to talk some more about Miguel's development as a scorer. But let's break now and show everybody the highlights from this road trip. We haven't even gotten to the fact that he set a record on this road trip. We'll get there in a second. But let's look at Miguel in action. It's about as fun as you can get as far as watching a basketball player.
Passes it off. Now they get it back to him. And he pushes it ahead to Myers. Off to Miguel Arnold. Jump stop. Turns, hands it right off to Myers. Top of the circle, right side. Miguel Arnold waited for the... We go to the south end. Step back through. It's Kirby now. Right side to Miguel Arnold. One-on-one with Crawford. Jumper with 3. And Myers now to a cutting Miguel Arnold. The north end was Cruel. Driving is Miguel Arnold. Rigsby with 12 to pace.
PA is 3.55 in a hard place like. They're going to get a clean look. Arnold in the corner just can't work out to the high post. 5 on the shot clock, 3 ball. This half, excuse me. Can't give him that much room.
Great feet. Okay, I'm a coach. It's great feet. You know, the jump stops, like you said, I heard you say something. And he couldn't do that last year, to be honest with you. And that's all about spending time in the gym.
Yeah, the progression, tell me if I have it right, Coach. You know, in a prior episode, you mentioned that I used to be a shooter. Well, I never got past being open, catching it, and shooting it. And basically from a guy penetrating or maybe a kick out from the post, that's how you learn to shoot. Guys rebounding for you, you catch it, you shoot it. Well, is the progression, okay, you start doing that. That was Miguel, maybe his freshman year. And then now you're running off screens and you're getting your feet right, like you said, squared up. You know, that's hard to do. And then you go from that to really doing a lot of stuff off the dribble. Is that kind of the progression you've seen from Miguel?
Yeah, no question. You know, people don't remember 1,000 years ago when he came here, he was our point guard, you know, till one game at South Carolina, and then we moved him off the ball. And it's not because he can't play point guard, but for us, his ability to come off screens and shoot is really, it's hard to do. And he has gotten to the point where he can land off 2 feet. He can go off 1 foot. You know, he doesn't get it blocked because he's got a good feel for basketball. And no, it's a lot of time in the gym. You got to spend time in the gym to work at your game. And he's been relentless with it. And, you know, he's got a good routine and a good process to become a great player.
Miguel, when I first heard about you, it was from Coach. And, you know, we had a player, Keyshawn Sherrill, who I know you know well, but you came the year after he left, and I know you've gotten to know him over the years. But you know, he's such a great player. At the time, he was the Peach Belt career scoring leader. Led us, I guess, for 4 seasons, for sure for his final 3 seasons. And it was kind of like, well, what are we going to do when Keyshawn leaves? And Dip told me about you, and you were a big time scorer in high school. I've heard stories from Clint Bryan about some of the point totals you put up in the state playoffs, things like that. Tell us a little bit about your high school basketball career, where you played, how the team did, and some of your, you know, maybe if you can remember your scoring totals in big games, because I've heard from others.
You're going to be shocked with some of the things he tells you. Because go ahead, Miguel.
Well, so I went to South Miami Senior High in Miami. I spent there 2 years. I played with some great players, like Trevin Glover, which was like top 50 on the ESPN. Zach Dawson as well. He went to Oklahoma State as well. So I was around players that only wanted to work, and that helped me, you know, to just get better every day, because they were players that were over in the gym like every single day. So that kind of carried on to college. And you know, I guess because they first came to see me in Columbus, I believe I had like a 30-point game, something like that.
Now, you're saying against Columbus?
No, Columbus High School.
Columbus High School.
Yeah, against Columbus High School.
Yeah,
and they're a famous team. That's where the Boozer Twins
they are famous now. They weren't as famous then, but Boozer Twins.
And you had so you played at Columbus, and you had how many points?
I have like 30 points, something like that. That's when I think.
It was.
Yeah, so he went there and see me. You know, I had pretty good games. I was, you know, just playing basketball, just what I like to do.
Those 2 guys that you mentioned, what position did they play?
Trevin Glover was like a big man, but he could play the 4, the 3. He was a really good player. And Zach Dawson, he was a 2 guard, combo guard. He was really good.
And you played the point.
Yeah, I played the point.
And you've told me, like, I've always just loved. I love watching you play, and one of the things I really love is how you elevate on the 3. You know, it's kind of rare, but you've told me you started doing that when Lenny Carlson kind of told you. So in high school, you're scoring 30 at your size with those players on your team, kind of shooting a set shot from deep.
Yeah, set shot.
It was a set shot.
It was a set
shot.
I would not jump. It was the same shot. I just didn't jump. But I remember when I first came on my visit here, Coach Lenny got me to like step in with my right and my left, which was really hard. But then, you know, of course I went back home and I was like, okay, so this is the things I need to learn to be able to play in college. And I just went back home and kept working at it and got better.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it was, to jump in, he was the 3rd best player on his high school team. Yeah. Okay, but he was still all area in Miami. And it's not easy to be all area in Miami because he impacted the game. I saw him his junior year over over in Atlanta at a tournament. And I remember following up in a senior. I went down there, and he scored the first 13 points of the game.
Yeah.
I'm like, geez, this guy's showing me something here. And on a very one of the guys did not play that night due to some issues. But no, he was able to shine and come here and just have a great career.
And did you guys win a state championship?
No, we lost twice, semifinals and finals.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you another funny story. In the semifinals, they lost. A friend of mine, I won't say who it is, went to the game. It was an ex-college coach. I go, hey, what do you think of, what was your number you wore then?
2.
2. He's like, he's good, but I don't know if he can play against the Peach Belt guards that you have to face every night. Well, that guy's no longer in coaching, and there's a reason. But anyway, no, he just had a great innate feel for the game.
Finding players who play on great teams along with some extra special players, and that's kind of a thing that's served you well,
Well,
right?
it's good because when Miguel came here, he wasn't the best player. Did you start? I mean, yeah, he started kind of when I yell at him too much, but you have to be able to play with other good players. And he played the year, I think it was Bird and Tyvez were seniors. They weren't better than him, but they were older than him. Dean was kind of emerging as a player. So the ability to play with other good players is really important. If you fortunate enough to play with great players in high school, it's not an adjustment to go to college.
Yeah. That, when we fast forward into college, we've talked to Darren Lucas White and Tyree Myers in past episodes. We talked to Darren about how rare it is to start at one college, play all the way through. He's in his 5th season. Tyree Myers in his 5th season with Augusta. You're in your 6th year in Augusta, 4th season playing. You had to sit out your first year, and you had to sit out during the COVID year. But, having our 3 starting guards here from day one, knowing each other for 5 years, tell us about the bond. We'll start with Darren, and then we'll get to the 2 record breakers right after that. But talk about Darren Lucas White. I think he said when he came on his visit, you taught him a lesson. I don't know if that's true or not, but talk about your relationship with Darren.
Yeah, me and Darren are great friends. We are roommates. We're right next to each other. We're really good friends. We do a lot of things together. So our relationship outside of basketball is just great. Hardworking guy. He went to the gym this morning, so he's probably working out right now.
Yep.
So he's just a great guy. He like to do podcasts and stuff like that. So we have a lot of things in common. So I'm just grateful that I got a great relationship with one of my teammates.
Yeah, and he's been playing very well. You and Tyree set records over the road trip, but he was also playing extremely well all over the place. Let's take a look at Darren before we move on to Tyree. This is Darren Lucas White during the road trip.
On the visitors, and there's a steal on the inbounds play, 1-on-1. Nice move to the rack.
He was knocking threes down left and right up at Mars Hill, and they're hoping the same thing. And running out.
Coach Darren's been making, hustle plays and things like that. But I can't help but see Kirby, in the action there too. And with those 2 guys in the lineup at the same time, it's
Makes
really
a difference.
something.
Yeah, they're definitely 2 really good defenders, and enables us to put our matchups the way we like them to start the game. So now Darren's been good. He's been really good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And then so now we'll talk a little bit about Tyree, but let's, kind of buried the lead. Let's set up the fact that, Miguel and Tyree became Miguel, the school's all-time 3-point leader last season as a junior, and Tyree became the school's all-time assist leader last season as a junior. Well, on the road trip last week, Miguel set the Peach Belt Conference all-time career 3-point mark in Wednesday's win over Georgia College, 87-66, the team's 7th win in a row. Team's 13-1, ranked 10th in the nation right now. And then Saturday, Tyree logged 7 assists and broke the Peach Belt Conference mark for assists, and that was the 8th straight victory for the team. It was maybe that was 87-66. Both 20-point victories on the road against solid competition, 4-0 in Peach Belt play. We talked to Tyree when he was here about the fact that so many of his assists over the years have come to you on 3-pointers. Playing with a point guard like Tyree, it's it's made an impact on that 3-point record, don't you think?
Yes, he has. Me and Tyree have gotten to the point where, freshman year, I used to try to like talk to him a lot, like, Tyree, look, I'm here. And he would never answer me, which is weird. And I was like, why does he not want to talk to me? But, I've got to understand the way he plays. He's just really locked in. So we huddle during the fouls, but we barely speak during the game. Like, even on the passes, I don't even look at him. He knows where I'm at every time. So it's like we've really gotten to that point where we don't need to even, like, almost not look at each other, which is crazy. So it has been great.
Yeah, you'll call for the ball, but I guess you don't from Tyree.
Yeah, I don't. He knows where I'm at every time. I don't have to, because they sometimes be like, call for the ball, but I know Tyree sees me. I trust him, and I know he sees me, so I don't call for the ball as much from Tyree.
Yeah, so your freshman season, you're like, hey, Tyree, and he doesn't respond to you, and you're like, what? Doesn't he like me?
Yeah, I can see that as a point guard. Like, I got you. Don't worry about it. That's
he
Tyree.
Will not answer me, Yeah.
Some of his other teammates, he has to tell them. Yes. Yeah, I can see that.
Well, we're going to look at a couple of Tyree's assists. The first one I really like. You'll see Darren Lucas White drive baseline and attract a crowd. He and Tyshawn each are kind of in a crowded space, and there's 3 or 4 defenders around them. And somehow, when the ball swings back to Tyree, those defenders all kind of vacate at the same time and leave Tyshawn wide open. And you can just tell Tyree's itching to get the ball so he can deliver that pass to Tyshawn. Nobody probably in the gym saw what was unfolding there except for Tyree, and so it's an example of his ability to see things on the court like Miguel just talked about.
And here come the Jaguars to the north end. Work it down low to Crawford, gonna slam.
Alley-oop. They'll work the right side to Myers. He'll shoot the 3, and it's good. They'll switch off there. Pull-up jumper is.
Coach, we've talked about Tyree being the closer, showed the assist, but then those 2 jumpers were the last 5 points of the first half to put us up, I think, 7 on the road at number 18, Young Harris.
When Drew Gibson, long time ago, I guess your first year, maybe assistant coach, he said that Tyree, Darren, and Miguel are never afraid of a moment. They're never afraid to take a shot. Just never afraid to Darren to make a right play defensively. No, they've been good players, and we're really, for the last 5 years, those 2 have not, all 3 of them been on the floor every close game. So it's a burden we're looking for in the future. But no, and Miguel doesn't credit. Miguel's a very smart player. Like, he's got really great basketball intellect. He knows when Tyshawn needs to touch the ball. I've heard him say this during the game, and maybe it was a manual game. He's like, just throwing the ball every time, because the way they were playing, they just chose to play him one-on-one. A lot of guys don't do that. Just throw the ball to Tyson every play. If that's the way they're going to guard him, let it go ahead and get his 20 points. And that's hard. But our guys want to win. They're not trying about it's about Augusta. It's not about their individual stuff.
Sure is. And speaking of winning, I think about Miguel setting a record for threes, Tyree setting a record for assists. Tyshawn might set a record, Peach Belt Conference record for rebounds before the end of the season. Winning means more games, and it means records broken, right?
Yeah, that's true. The more games you play, the more chances you have to get individual accolades, and your individual accolades come by winning. I'm going to see if we can go the whole year and never get a Peach Belt Player of the Week, okay?
That's so true.
I'm not sure how this is all working right now, but, maybe we can go the whole year. I mean, this guy was 10 for 11. That's hard to do as a guard. Tyshawn's numbers are gross, but maybe that'll be a cause for us as we finish out the year. But we have not had one all year. And, the big kid at Purdue has been a Big Ten Player of the Week 4 times already. So maybe we're balanced. But it's all about winning. That's all they care about.
I don't want to blow the guys' heads up, but it's so true. It's kind of like that old Michael Jordan MVP rule. It's like, of course he's the MVP, but we can't give it to him every year.
Yeah.
We could have a Player of the Week maybe every week, the way the guys are playing. And on how the guys are playing, I mentioned the 13-1 record, the number 10 ranking. 8 straight wins, 6 straight games over 50% from the field, 5 straight games over 40% from the three-point line, and that came after a long string of games, and when we didn't reach that mark as far as shooting proficiency. The wins have been there regardless. We're holding opponents to 41% field goal shooting, but the shooting's coming along, right?
Shooting's coming along. We didn't start, obviously, Miguel started out the year in a slump, I guess. Troy Cracknell did the same thing last year. Troy could tell you his shooting percentage probably at halftime. Okay, he was set in the numbers. Well, I noticed Miguel one day, so I'm only shooting this percent. I'm like, stop. Troy did that last year. Yeah. And I remember sending him something that Kevin Durant said about just the fundamentals of shooting. Or you stay with your fundamentals. Our shooting percentages have gone up. Okay, and this is going to be weird. When Kirby got back playing, okay, that's because true. Kirby creates things for guys. He really does, and he's not a point guard, but his presence creates a lot of things for Miguel and Tyshawn and everybody else. Is that true, Miguel?
Yeah. We were just talking about that in the car. Kirby, he's just great to have him back. He opens things up for us in many ways, so it's just great to have him back.
I totally agree. We talked about the 3 guards being fifth, in Miguel's case, 6 years here in Augusta altogether. Tyshawn's in his 4th season. He's a senior. That's the 4th starter, player of the year candidate. And then Kirby, just the most exciting and maybe one of the most competitive players to ever play for the team, and he's the young guy. Yeah, but he's a great leader.
He's a big piece, and all of everybody. Meech has come along, Vita's playing. Yeah. It's a team effort, and there's going to be nights we haven't experienced it yet that we do not shoot the ball well, especially now that we've shooting it better. You get into a comfort zone of we're going to shoot 50%. Well, we got to be careful because that's going to happen somewhere, but we just got to rely on our defensive rebound in that case.
Coach talks about it being a team game. So true, obviously. David Viti has really started to he's always impacted games, but he's impacting the game on the backboard and on defense. Dimitri Gardner is coming off of a freshman, coming off of a couple really good games, scored 10 against Georgia College, and I think 9 against Young Harris, and then Carson Seaman got a dunk against Georgia College. I turned off the game with about a minute to go, and I think I missed it, so I got to go back and get that. But those 2 guys, Carson and Dimitri, strike me, 2 redshirt freshmen. What do you think guys like that are going to need to do? Chris Britt, guys like that are going to need to do to have a 4 or 5 year career like you guys have had? That's for you, Miguel, because you're experienced.
They're great players. Chris is doing pretty good. He's kind of figuring things out. Meech as well, Carson as well. Those are for the last 3 weeks. They've been every practice. They stay after practicing, working out, not only getting shots up, but working on their game. And they understanding that working and putting time in the gym. It'll get you better, and that will get you playing time. So they figuring things out, and I'm just glad that I can help them to understand things and being able to play and get some playing time and getting better.
It's neat to hear you go right to what they're going to need to do is spend time in the gym. So true, so simple. For some reason, it took me back to the press conference after Keyshawn Sherrill's final game as a Jaguar up at Queens, and I remember somebody asked him, what are the guys that are coming back? What are they going to have to do to have success? And he just said, hey, they're going to have to work. You got to get in the gym and work. It's as simple as that. And you guys share that. That
2 things: you have to work on your strengths. Like Miguel's a good shooter, but he makes a lot of shots on his own, and you got to work on your weaknesses. Some guys only want to work on their strengths, and it's really important to work on your strengths and weaknesses. Chad, I do have to explain my shirt, though.
Please do.
Miguel had one of these shirts on at the beginning of the year. I said, hey, let me have one of those. I'm repping Puerto Rico for Miguel there. He gave me a shirt, so I had to give a little shout out to the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico.
Well, I'm glad you brought it up. I love the shirt. I'm a little offended that I don't have one.
I'll get you one. Chad.
This old man's collared shirt. But let's talk about that. That's a great way, I think, to end things. You mentioned playing 2 years in Miami. Puerto Rico's your home.
Yes.
How'd you come to Miami from Puerto Rico? When you go home, where do you go? And just talk about your home territory.
Oh man, everything was just crazy. I came here when I was 14. We used to live with a guy that's pretty much like a father figure for me. His name is Omar. He was great to us. Actually, I don't know if you guys know, Chris Duarte, he plays for the Indiana Pacers. He lived with us
Really?
for a whole year, yeah. So it was crazy. It was like 11 of us in a house just living there, trying to get us schools to like go. And, that guy really took care of us. After that, that's how I landed in South Miami Senior High. And, I moved a lot in Miami, lived with a lot of people. I'm grateful for all of them. But, it was worth it. Never thought I would be in college, graduated and get another degree. So, life has just been great for me, honestly. So I'm just grateful for everything God and everybody around me, because Dave gave me a chance, and I just really appreciate that for real.
I'm so glad.
He made a comment one time. We had a high school team practice in our gym, and a kid was from Puerto Rico, and he went and talked to him, and he said he's going to have an easier time going to college because he's in a non-Spanish-speaking high school. South Miami is primarily a Spanish-speaking high school, so he could go the whole day and not speak much English when he was in Miami. Well, this kid was in high school in Atlanta. There's not many people speaking Spanish walking the hallway. It's a big adjustment when you come to America knowing very few words and then get put in environments where you can keep speaking Spanish. Yeah. And then when he got here, his writing skills, his verbal skills have improved so much because he's had no choice. I don't think you speak Spanish to anybody around here. Is that?
I don't. I don't even speak Spanish no more unless I talk to my parents and my family back home. Yeah. But other than that, I pretty much just speak English all the time. I have to write a lot of papers for school, so everything has improved a lot.
Yeah.
He had a great. I'll laugh about this. Drew Gibson one day, I said, I don't understand what he says to me. He goes, he don't understand what you say to him either. There was a stretch where I'd yell at him, and he'd say something back. I had no idea what he was saying. He had no idea what I was saying. And, he's developed. He can accept criticism. Like if I remember correctly, in one of my fits of rage after his first year, I screamed his stats against the good teams we played. I said, hey, man, I don't need you to make shots against a team in last place. I need you to make shots in the regional championship. I need you. And I remember, you remember that one? I
remember all of them.
That was a pretty brutal one. And I told him, I said, this is your numbers against teams that play in the NCAA tournament. I don't care that you made 82 threes your first year or whatever it was, 100 and something. I don't care. You were 7 for 58 against these games. And, man, some kids don't like that. But, man, he took it and ran with it.
Miguel, when it comes to that English-speaking thing, I'm glad we got into that because, when you came, I was told that you didn't speak English. And, is that true? And it just makes it that much more amazing story if it is.
I was just able to, defend myself. I didn't really, spoke the language very well. But, yeah, because Dick kept reminding me, so I just wanted to get better. He hasn't figured out yet that he can't mumble to me because I can't read lips in English. So when he be telling me something, I don't know. So I got to go to him. But
now, when you came, when you were 14 or 15, how much English did you know?
Oh, zero. I didn't know what. Yeah. I remember I was walking the hallway and somebody say hi. And hi is hello as well. But I didn't know that hi meant hello. So I was like, hi what? So I knew zero English. Zero.
And so you go through 2 years in Miami in a school where a lot of people are speaking Spanish. So did you kind of learn close to nothing? I mean, when it comes to English?
I didn't learn any English at all.
Yeah.
Zero.
And is that part of the reason why you didn't play your first year in Augusta?
Yeah, because...
well, no, I'll tell you, because this kind of made me upset. We appealed his eligibility to the NCAA. He came to America and enrolled in public school. If he'd came to America and enrolled in a private school, he probably wasn't eligible. He took English as a second language his whole time, which is very prominent in Dade County, and the NCAA did not count those classes toward his eligibility.
So the NCAA is like, no, you need to take English, period. Yeah, even though you don't know English, that's another thing we could be angry about when it comes to the NCAA.
Or go to a private school that didn't require it. And that was one of our arguments, because I remember his guidance counselor, we worked closely because they had a diver go to the University of Miami, and they appealed the eligibility. His was a different situation. Is a blessing in disguise, because that year enabled him to get acclimated to college and then put himself in a position to degree. And then COVID It really is able to. So I don't want to say it's been easy for him because it hasn't, but he hasn't had to overload his classes to finish his degree because it was hard, man. It's hard. It's really hard.
In that first season when the, I guess, what do you call it? The petition, a waiver got denied, you practiced the whole year with that team.
He was the film guy.
Yeah, I was the film guy. I was recording the game.
I would see you up on the platform, and I would never know, like, should I talk to Miguel, or will he feel like self-conscious about not understanding what I'm saying? Because I was told you didn't speak English.
Yeah.
So if I wasn't overly nice to you, I apologize. It was a little, I didn't know how to do that. You know?
I figure out a lot of people will like talk to me and they'll change the way they speak to me, but it's normal.
People slow down and speak real loud.
I've got used to it. I don't take offense to that. It's not my language, so I just appreciate people to talk to me anyway.
Well, and this is interesting because he was the film guy, okay? Yeah. He was the film guy, and the next practice we were working on coming off of a move. And I got mad. I said, why are we working on this? And Miguel says, because they're going under every screen. If you remember that, I don't remember when the blocker mover. And he goes, they're going under the screen, and guys weren't real. All you can do is step back and shoot it. And he, as a filmer, realized, man, they're going over every screen. Why don't you just go there and shoot it? That's part of the basketball IQ. You don't have to speak English, to understand, understand the game of basketball. We had Hoffa here, and Hoffa speak Portuguese, which is kind of like Spanish, but not really. Yeah. And if you just watch the game and analyze, you can always get better. The language doesn't really matter.
So your first year, you can't play and you're trying to learn a new language and succeed in a university. So difficult.
Wait, and ready for this, and lied to me, because when we'd play road games, he didn't watch the games. He said he did, and he'd have no idea that we got beat by 20 points, and I'd be mad yelling in practice.
Because I remember one day we lost really bad, and he asked me if I watched the game, and I was like, yeah. So I came the next day at like 6 in the morning, and I had no idea what happened, so we had to run. It was like conditioning. It was horrendous.
Oh, that's for every turnover. Yeah, every
people
turnover.
Throwing up. It was crazy. So, I did lie to him. But, eventually I started watching the games after that day.
Yeah. Well, it's hard, when you're not playing. He was filming. And, look, he's trying to get his academics done and trying to get things he needs to take care of. And he's been great for us.
Well, my roommate in college, the first year in college, was a guy named Derek Patterson. He had transferred from Georgetown to South Carolina State, and he was the best player in the conference when he came into the MEAC, our conference. And but the year before that, he had to sit out. And I remember him telling me, after a few weeks, I stopped going to practice last year. And I didn't understand. I was like, why wouldn't you go to practice? Why would the coach not let you go to practice? And it just he's like, man, I wasn't even playing. So, I understand that it's difficult.
The only thing Miguel couldn't do was he could not travel with NCAA rules-wise, but he was allowed to be at every practice, and he was there every day, and, he was on the scout team.
He's a gym rat.
Yeah, absolutely. And he just used his advantage to get better.
Well, on the scout team, but also I remember some of those practices, he was doing work, and he was talking a lot of trash. I remember, and I didn't understand a word he was saying, but he was talking a lot of trash. Great player from day one. Now, and then we'll be done after this. But so that year, you sit out, you try to learn the language, you try to become a student at an American university with English as your second language. Then you play 2 seasons, 2 great seasons, and then COVID hits, and you play 2 games. You score, I want to say, you didn't score the first half of the first game, but you ended up with like 20 that game and 23 the next game, playing lights out basketball. And then, however it went down, COVID testing and so on and so forth, you had to sit out the entire season. So after you get going, you learn the language, you play a couple seasons, then you sit out a whole nother year. That's quite a bit of adversity to deal with. Let's end with you telling us how you kept the faith, kept your head in the game, and came back for last season's nearly national championship run, and then another great year. I'm
going to predict what is going to be a day that he remembers most about this. But go ahead, Miguel.
I just stay patient. There's a lot of things in life that you can't control, like COVID. So when I got the thing in the heart, they told me I couldn't do. I got to keep my heart rate into like 120 and something like that. But I like basketball. I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but I got in a red league, so I would go and like play anyway, like at night times. because, you know, I can't not play basketball for 7 months. Like, you know, so I just, honestly, I kept playing basketball, just being mindful of what I needed to, like, do to stay healthy and nothing happened to me. But
yeah, I remember this because I distinctly remember this because this was post-COVID, and then we had to go for the last checkup to check the heart.
Yeah.
And I remember I went with him because Troy's mom had went with Troy. Well, obviously Miguel's mom can't be here, so I went with him. And I remember he was like, "Hey, what happened if this thing doesn't say my heart's good?" I go, I don't. He was nervous. I was nervous. And, you know, you're sitting in there and whatever they're doing, and I could see the look on his face. I'm like, please, let's be right with this. You know, we're in COVID. That was, nobody knew what was going on with hearts and diseases and all that stuff. And I'll never forget that day. I'm like, man, I feel good walking out of here because I didn't see any look on the, you know, on the person's face. Kind of like when my wife was pregnant, when you see the sonogram, you look at it, you're like, hey, what's going on? And they were giving him a sonogram. And I'm like, whoa, what are we doing here? So you remember that?
Yeah,
that was a
remember.
scary day, yes.
Yeah, I did spend like 2 hours in a MRI thing. It was it was terrible, but, you know, we got through it.
Yep.
And it was there for me. He went with me to the hospital, so it was great.
That's great. That's great. This has been my favorite show so far. You know, that would have been, I guess, in March. After the season that you sat out, second season out of your 4 years so far in Augusta, you had to sit out, and the team played with, you know, something like 8 players. You and Troy. And Troy. Goodness gracious, you and Troy had, and that goes back to that winning thing. Yeah. You know, Tyshawn's lowest numbers of his career came when Troy and Miguel couldn't play. They come back and he sets the world on fire. You know, the team. Basketball is so much a team game. You talk about,
he joked about this one day. Your sophomore year, that's when the NCAA tournament got canceled.
Yes,
He jokes. He said, "Hey, I didn't play my whole year that year." Well, you did. You played 27 games or whatever we played, but that's when the game got canceled. Yeah. So you wonder if you could get another year back. I said, "No, you don't get another year back." Remember, they granted baseball players. I said, "No, we played enough games," because Hoffa was in the same situation. He wanted to have another year out of it. So, but
Well, yeah. If you think about it, in his first 4 years in Augusta, he was able to complete a season
one time. Yes. That's when we lost to Queens in the game to go to Elite Eight. Yes, and then the next tournament got canceled. So, it's been a wild ride for sure.
Yeah, you know, overcoming adversity. As we talk this thing through, I can't think of a better example than Miguel Arnold, the hero for Augusta University in the biggest game of the program's history, in my opinion. Made the big shot. We run the audio before every show. Here's to making more memories as these last months pass by. Let's end on that. You know, are you starting to process the fact that we have so many days left and it's not that many, and how are you going to make the most of them?
Just keep working, just stay in the gym, because they always have the exact days we have left. He already reminded us, like, not even a week ago. So, you know, just try to make the best of it, stay working, keep winning, stay together, which is the most important thing, and just keep battling and get it done.
Well, come see Miguel and the Jaguars Wednesday night against Lander at home. 13-1, 10th in the country, 4-0 in Peach Belt Conference play. Team's on an eight-game winning streak. Everything seems to be clicking, and I hope I don't jinx them when it comes to that. And we'll take on Lander's 3-1. The winner holds the top spot in the PBC. So thanks to Get Up Productions for filming, editing, producing, hosting this show, the Dip Mitra Show. You can find them at getupproductions.com or on Instagram at getup.productions. And, we really appreciate you joining us. Like and share and subscribe to the Dip Mitra Show YouTube channel. And, come support the Jags Wednesday night.